Clevitas is here, yes, the epic tale of 13 heroes sent by their king in order to take down the Lord of Beasts, before the Lord of Beasts goes to seek out milk for a baby. Yes, a fantasy series in the summer 2025 anime season. I've checked out the first 2 episodes, which is basically 3 episodes long, and I'm already pretty hooked on this show. I think the thing that grabs me the most is twofold. One is I think that the world building this writer is doing is incredible. You have all these nations, all these people that all have their desires and what they want to do, how that sort of comes in conflict with the beasts on the outside, and yes, this sort of trial that's being played out by this Lord of Beasts that is incredibly powerful. On the other side is, yes, the visual style, which I really, really like. It's got a very unique style to it, and it sort of has like a retro filter applied to it, which, yes, for flashbacks anyways, is a bit overdone, but that's beside the point. But so far, like I said, I'm really, really enjoying this show, so let's just jump to my first thoughts. Clevitas opens up, like I said before, with 13 heroes that are sent by their king in order to take down the Lord of Beasts. Now, the idea here is that you have this one kingdom where humanoids live within, but they cannot go beyond this barrier. There's this big barrier around the entire area, and if they go beyond that boundary, they end up running into the dark beasts, including, yes, the Lord of Beasts. But the humanoids want to go further. They want to get beyond that. And there's a legend that tells that at some point, the king will bestow this weapon to a hero, and the hero will strike down the Lord of Beasts. Well, they got 13 of them, and they send all 13 to take out this Lord of Beasts. And yeah, they fail miserably. The Lord of Beasts, Clevitas, wipes the floor with them, like instant death, all of them, with his tail. Well, one of the heroes manages to actually scar his horn. And in response to this, he claims humanoids are typically like insects, but they seem to be getting clever. And so I need to snuff them out because they're invading my territory and they're getting stronger seemingly. So let's just go wipe them out. So he goes over to the kingdom where these heroes are sent from, goes before the king, where he asks the king, based on your answer, I might wipe out all of humanity. Why are you seeking to kill me? And the king's response is, you'll never understand. To which, yes, Clevitas just one-shots the king and destroys all the humanoids there. Well, as the Lord of Beasts, Clevitas is leaving the kingdom, he ends up coming across this woman begging for Clevitas to take their child. In response, they're like, why would I do that? Because whatever the adults did to you and attacked you that you're getting revenge for, it's not the fault of the child. A child doesn't get to decide where it's born. It's sort of a blameless aspect here, to which Clevitas is asking her to prove it, in which she says, I can't prove it to you, I'm dying, but take the child, they will prove it to you when they grow older. To which, oddly enough, Clevitas, and they don't even understand it themselves, decides to take her up on it and takes the child with him. Well, this turns this whole thing where, gosh dang, this baby's crying all the time. Clevitas is able to sort of handle the fact that the child is, producing waste and whatnot because he has all these little beetles that will eat all of the waste that the kid has. And he can restore the strength in the child, but he can't feed the child. So he decides to revive one of the great heroes, Alicia, the one that actually scarred his horn. At which point, immediately, he commands Alicia, show me your breasts. The child needs milk. Give me them. To which she, yes, is forced to by his command because she's become sort of a undead being from him. Using his ichor, she's able to revive her body. But yeah, as she says, I'm a virgin. I can't produce that stuff. To which she calls her a useless woman. But what sort of comes from this is that Clevitas is like, okay, you're going to be useful another way. You're going to give me the knowledge of humans, because Clevitas, as the Lord of Beasts, has no knowledge of humanoids. Since they accepted the challenge from this woman to raise the child to the point where it'll be able to make the decision whether it would attack monsters or not, he has to follow through with it. And so he wants Alicia to essentially guide him and give him the knowledge he needs with humans to walk amongst humans and get what it needs to raise the child to the point that it can decide if it will be aggressive or not. While they're journeying, yes, eventually Alicia discovers that, yeah, this child that Clevitas has is actually royalty. And why that's important is the royalty are the only ones that have the secret technique in order to produce these blades that can actually harm the beasts. To which Clevitas responds interestingly enough. Again, Clevitas doesn't understand why they chose to accept this challenge from the mother. But at this point realizes that this child that he is now taking care of is destined to rule a nation. So the best way that he feels that he can sort of choose whether or not to wipe out the humans is to raise this child up, seat it on a throne, let it be king, and then if he ever decides that he wants to destroy humans, he can destroy it from the inside out. So he makes it his point that he's going to make this child a ruler. And that kicks off the journey. Clevitas, Alicia, and this child traveling around, trying to find all the resources they need to raise this child. They really quickly, of course, meet the worst of humanity, being these bandits that knock them out. And Clevitas just goes along with it because he wants to kind of experience everything about humanity. So he lets himself get knocked out and captured, taken to this post where they have all these people that are being forcibly traded and sold. And that's where we meet Neru, pretty much our wet nurse for the child. And Neru has an extremely tragic story, being a child that was brought into, yes, these bandits at some point. Her mother was horribly mistreated until she ran away. That's when she discovered that her mother was basically shielding her the entire time. And now she's facing all of the physical and even further abuse that a woman would face. And the reason why she's able to produce milk is, of course, because, yes, she's bore a child before. Unfortunately, it was a stillbirth, and she's had 2 others since then. But in her darkness of being forced in this location, she found some light in the idea that she was at least able to feed the children that were brought into this location, including, yes, Luna, this child that Clevitas is looking after. And the story so far wraps up with Alicia quickly being ID'd by the leader of this bandit group that she is, of course, one of these 13 heroes, and she's going to show them where all the heroes' weapons are. Before she, yes, knowing that Clevitas revived her and that she's actually technically immortal, decides to take out a lot of the bandits by just plunging them to death. But yeah, that's the story so far of Clevitas. Like I said before, I'm really loving this show, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm liking the world building. They've already established basically this entire kingdom of humanoids. There's 5 different races of humanoids that they have in this one, which is basically like an ogre type one. There's sea folk. There's like a cross between elves and dwarves. There's barbarians. There's just a whole bunch of different groups. A lot of the focus in this first 2 episodes is on the Hydians. And the Hydians are, again, like the dwarfs/elves. They're a crafting group. And again, the royalty themselves hold the key to taking down the dark beasts. But the whole idea here is that there's a lot to do with sort of their legends and the oracles and what they've kind of foretold. And that they're supposed to wait to a given time to use the forge that they have that will produce these regalias, these heroes' weapons. And it seems like the king chose to make his move early. The legend itself said one hero will gain a weapon that will take down the Lord of Beasts. He produced 13 of them, and it doesn't seem like they were strong enough. It did impress the Lord of Beasts, because the Lord of Beasts was actually harmed for once, and he says normally these are like insects, you swat them away. It seems like they're getting stronger. Why did the king choose to make the move now? And then there's like the bigger question of Clevitas's sort of response to the humans coming to attack them. You're invading my territory. Why do you seek to leave your bounds? There is this question mark of why do these people want to go beyond that barrier? What is beyond the barrier? Are they supposed to go past there? Are they the invaders at that point? There's a lot of really interesting question marks being produced already just by the world building alone. I'm loving it. I love all the different races, the style of it, and everything like that. Visually, I really like it. It's got a very unique style to it. I love the character designs themselves, but I'm in this kind of area where I think I'll get used to it. But I love and hate the filter they have on it. This is similar to a lot of other shows. Like, I remember a lot of people were pointing this out with Mushoku Tensei, where you have the show itself is produced, and it's almost like they put a filter on top of it. A lot of the flashbacks of this show almost look like they put a blur filter on it. Like, they just purposely blur the show just to make the flashbacks, I guess, have a different feel to it. And I didn't like it. Especially since the beginning segments of the first episode had this. And I'm like, why is this blurry? I hope this is not the whole show. And then once the flashback ended, I'm like, okay, good. This isn't the whole show. And then later on, they do another flashback. And I'm like, oh, God, there's that style again. Like I feel like I took my glasses off for a brief moment. Why is everything blurry? I'm very mixed on that. But again, going back, I love the style of it, the look of the characters, and the animation has been pretty solid so far. It's not like all the action scenes are incredibly done, but it's enough to be at least entertaining. But zeroing in on the concept that we've kind of presented here, which I think is going to be obviously the core story. I like the setup so far with Clevitas, Alicia, and Luna, which is the child. I think it's a pretty decent setup so far, and plus it seems like Neru, this new character, which is the one that's going to be the wet nurse, I'm assuming she will join the group because she's a wet nurse, they need a wet nurse. And she seems nice enough. My heart breaks for this girl so bad. The setup here so far is interesting, and I think the coming episodes will be very telling whether or not it's going to be something that's going to be good or not. Like I've stated before, and I'm probably going to say this a lot in a lot of my first impressions, summer is the season where 7 out of 10s come to die. Where even though a show is a 7 out of 10, which is good, even in some cases 8 out of 10, it's going to die in this season full of insane bangers that everybody's excited for. And so I hope that something really jumps out and grabs me within these first 3 episodes, and we're 2 in so far. Where I'm seeing this sort of going is you do have the beast that doesn't understand humans. You have the human that understands humans that's trying to protect the humans. And then you have the child who is the pure one. And the future of mankind is all resting upon what this Lord of Beasts decides based on what this new infant that's pure will do. But until it gets old enough, Clevitas wants to experience humankind. And I'm assuming the route this is going to be going is that, yes, Clevitas is going to be running into the worst of humankind. There's going to have to be some sort of explanation as to it. At some point, Clevitas will find something that's pure within that darkness, and then ultimately decide to keep going forward. Bandits being the first example we're really getting here. I think when they first get kidnapped, Alicia's like, they're the worst of the worst. They're the scum. Please don't make your judgments based on these people. They're horrible. And yeah, Clevitas is kind of just going along with it until they get inside the location, and he's presented with Neru, this seemingly 100% pure and innocent soul that is being forced upon on a regular basis by these disgusting human beings, has had 3 miscarriages, and is suffering in darkness in this location to the point where she is just broken. Clevitas sees her and says, I don't like humans, I don't trust them, but you seem okay. Come join me. It does seem like he is going to basically be building up this nation and this group that will be surrounding the future potential king. I think the hook at the end there really is how this can build up to a point where you will have Luna possibly be the king of this nation, or at least being put forth on a pedestal before seemingly a nation that Clevitas is building around them. That, I think, would be really interesting, but I would assume that for a while now, it's going to be strictly just traveling around with the baby, and mean people are in their way. It does seem like it's balancing very well so far, sort of this smaller picture of Clevitas understanding humanity and the nations themselves and what they think about the situation with Haydn being wiped out. All the kingdoms are already moving. Well, the Haydns are gone. This Lord of Beasts destroyed them all. We gotta zoop in here. We gotta get the technologies that they left behind for the weapons. They were producing all the weapons for the Duns up north that were always competing with each other. It's a gold mine. Let's get down there. Let's reset up fortifications and pick up where they left off, basically. It's doing really well so far. I'm really enjoying it. It does have a little bit of a spot of humor in there, but I think for the most part, the feel of the show has been pretty heavy. It has a very dark fantasy feel to it. Yeah, the 13 heroes, heads flying off left and right, impaling left and right. Even like I said, the king himself, you would never understand. Gone. This show really likes beheading characters. It doesn't really hold much back. And like I said, getting into Neru's story, oh, that was bad. Neru's story was horrible. Again, the idea of the mother protecting her and shielding her. Seemingly, she got to the point where she couldn't take anymore and she fled her own child. And in response, they're all treating her like a cow. They're treating her like the cow, completely mistreating her, abusing her physically, and again, further than that, as a woman. All the miscarriages that she's had, the darkness that she was in before finally she realized that at least she had a purpose, and her purpose was to soothe the crying of the children that were brought in there just by feeding them milk. It gets heavy. It gets really heavy. I got very emotional with the second episode, and that kind of shows me that although it's going to be very brutal and mean at times, I think it could tell some really good stories here. And yeah, I think with Alicia sort of acknowledging the fact that she is now technically immortal, like a walking corpse, and her using that in battle as a way to get the advantage might be interesting, but I haven't got a chance to quite see that yet, so we'll have to wait and see. But anyways, that's my thoughts so far on the epic tale of the Lord of Beasts seeking out milk. Show me your milk makers. I got a kick out of Clevitas forcing Alicia to show the milk. Kill me, you embarrass me so much. I can't produce that stuff. Why not? You're so useless, woman. I'd be wondering if he could even produce as a Walking Dead. I don't know that you'd want to feed the kid Walking Dead milk. But anyways, that's my thoughts so far on the show. It's very, very interesting. Looking forward to more. I was sort of mixed when I found out the original creator did Dimension W and King of Thorns. I liked King of Thorns. It wasn't great, but I did like King of Thorns. Dimension W, it was very style. It was very style, and I didn't really like the story overall, so that wasn't really helping it out. But it at least kind of shows a little bit of promise there. But definitely going to be checking it out on a weekly basis. Hopefully it kind of builds up stronger because, like I said, unless it really stands out from the crowd, it's just going to die away and get really outshined by a lot of other shows this season, which is the unfortunate thing about having too many shows in a season. But I hope you guys enjoyed my video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below, comment, let me know what you think of this series. Are we going to be checking it out? Additionally, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe before you leave. If you like this content, you want to support the channel more, I have links in the description below. Become a member of the channel. But until next time, y'all take care.